Let's start off breaking down the bottom four by talking about Florida Mutineers, the team that came in 8th, scraped in at the bottom there, and this is the team that I was on board with at the start of the season. Really wanted to see them succeed, really wanted to see them come out and deliver a massive ceiling, and it just never really happened. So let's get into some strengths, weaknesses, and break down this team and then the rest in the video. Before we do, just a reminder, this is Reverse Sweep Round 11 presented by USAA Insurance. On to Florida and one of their strengths. So Neptune, definitely considered to be a very solid piece of this side. Started off kind of okay. He was a Halo player last year, came into it this year, so he was given that room to breathe and learn the game, and that has paid off dividends. He looks fantastic, showing that kind of movement and intelligence that shots he has, and definitely has a high ceiling, one to build around in the future for sure. Slaying potential as well, something that this side definitely have. They have raw gun skill. They can take on big gunfights and win them, and this is why every now and again you can see them stealing maps and series away from teams, and why there is the potential for that ceiling there. However, if we cut to weaknesses, if they have that massive gun skill ability, that raw aggressive potential, but aren't seeing it through, the weakness is the fundamentals. They just don't close out games. They've won maps before in the slaying department by 20 plus kills and still gone on to lose. That's incredible. That would be difficult to do if you were trying to make it happen, and Florida Mutineers have never really got around to fixing this. If they did manage to stitch their slaying power in the fundamentals, they'd do all right. Currently, they don't. They also struggle in Game 5, specifically against New York, specifically at Majors, with New York just turfing them out of every tournament, effectively. The star player has to be Skyz. Caesar Skyz Bueno, the man who invested in his game, he definitely has takeover potential. The thing that I think he lacks is being a leader. I don't see him being this extremely vocal player that shapes the side around him. So he has all of this talent, but it's difficult to get the rest of the side on his page. For as good as he is, it just is a gap in this side. I do think that he will be the star player of the tournament. I do expect him to put up some big performances. I just don't know if the team can capitalize on them. X Factor, the guy who I think it rests on whether they win or lose, is going to be Havoc. He does have, without a doubt, some incredible intangibles. Great communicator, leader, does the dirty work, but that alone is just not enough to seal yourself a spot in a side. You also have to be performing in the slaying department, and when he does, Florida look incredible. Chances, I'm going to give them absolutely minimal. I'm going to give them the lowest chance out of anyone in this tournament. I have no faith anymore in the Florida Mutineers. Like I said, I backed that train. I am off that train moving forward. Next up, we come to Thieves, a team that have had more than enough of their own problems, their own issues, especially with the Hugh debacle and everything that went on there. And they remember that once upon a time they even had Temp and Venom on this team. The amount of roster changes that they have been through is quite incredible. However, the one thing that they are good at and have been good at throughout most of the year is hardpoint. They really can see these out. They do a great job of clutching up, adding a little bit of slaying power to the team, and just doing enough to see those kind of maps through. And honestly, their second one is going to be Draza for me. I really do think that Draza is arguably the best player on this side. Massively disrespected at the start of this year by not being given a starting place after what he did on OGLA. He then completely smashed challengers apart, is pulled back into the starting lineup on Thieves, then thrown out again, then pulled back in. He can run any map, mode, weapon, role. This guy is very good. Definitely who the Thieves should be building around in the future, in my opinion. I do think that he has potential to be a star, to take over, and I really want to see it at Champs, and I think we will. Weaknesses, for me, it's going to be consistency. I just think that a team that has had such a little time to get it together, they'll have had less time than most of the teams they're going to be up against to work each other's plays out, to work each other out and figure out where they are on a page. I just think that there's going to be a couple of gaps there that can only be filled with time, something that they have not possessed, and I do worry about them coming up against certain other teams. As well, map pool, they definitely have favorites. They have 2 or 3 maps where they're like, okay, we're really happy here, we're happy to play these, but everything else is difficult for them. And in a best of 5, that's okay, that's fine, because they can likely squeeze those maps in. In the best of 9, that becomes a very different story and is very difficult for them all of a sudden. In terms of chances, I've put these guys in as my underdogs. You know what? I'm going with a long shot. I think that they come together. I think Draza hits takeover potential. Kenny is the star that we talk about. Slasher and John fight for the spots that they want to keep for next year to be a part of such a fantastic org, and I think that they go on to make a very deep run. Our defending champions then, the Minnesota ROKKR, are the next team that I'm going to talk about. 6th place in the CDL overall, And these guys basically were what Florida Mutineers were supposed to be. Let's talk about the strengths then. I think fundamentally this team are very, very good. They're really solid. They know how to play the game. They are on the same page as each other, and they really do have an idea of what they want to do when it comes to each hill, each map, mode, etc. They do have this game locked down at this point in the season. It's the correct time in the season to have that sorted. And finally, momentum, right? They won Major 5. Usually you would go into a couple of group games and teams would figure you out and show you, okay, no, you're actually a mid-pack team again. Calm yourselves down. There's none of that now. They go into champs, the defending champions, and they will be on a high. They will believe and know that they can take on absolutely anyone when it comes to Cod Champs. Weaknesses then, slaying power is definitely something that they lack. They might have those really solid fundamentals, but they do struggle to hang when it comes to the gunfights, when it comes to raw gun skill. I think you avoid that a little bit with Standy because he does have that to him, and that's why he rounds off this team so well. But a lot of them are purely there to try and trade even, try and just be a good teammate and play that side of the game. So I think that then feeds into their second issue, which is hardpoint. They do struggle there, and that's important because relying on the 2, 3, and 5 maps is just a risky tactic. You do want to be able to steal hardpoints away. And their final weakness as well for me is their floor. I do think that as much as they have this high ceiling, they do have a very low floor. And as much as them going on to be involved in Sunday wouldn't surprise me, them being double rounded wouldn't surprise me either. Did they go into that first game, get absolutely body bagged? They have so many questions all of a sudden. There's a lot of pressure. Star player, we're going with Standy. Standy has been brilliant. Was pulled up through challenges. Everyone spoke about how great he was at the start of Cold War. He got his opportunity, and boy, did he take it. If he turns up for this Cod Champs and absolutely takes over like he did in the grand final, like he has done multiple times at big moments, I really think that ROKKR have a good chance. The X factors, the play that I think it all hinges on as to whether ROKKR do really well or really poorly, is going to be Major Maniac. Major Maniac was poor at the start of the season, there's no doubt about it, back when ROKKR were getting like top 10s. He then comes back into the side, he was okay. And then as he's gotten better, as he's figured out how to fill in the gaps of the team, be the dirty player, be the one who's just going to glue the side together, it's no surprise that ROKKR are out on top. As for their chances, I think this massively depends on who turns up on the day. Is it going to be the good Minnesota ROKKR? Because if so, then yeah, I give them a solid chance. But if it's going to be the average Minnesota ROKKR, then not a chance in hell. I think that they even possibly get double rounded. Finally then, on to the 5th place team in the CDL, which is the New York Subliners. And every team really has some kind of storyline to go through over the season. But the New York Subliners is deep. You've got Zuma's injury, then the visa issues for HyDra. They finally figure things out, get HyDra in. There's visa issues for ASIM. ASIM comes back in. The team just looks disrupted and flat. Clayster then quits, or does he? Is he coming back? What's happening with DiamondCon? There's so much here to unravel, and it's just all coming to a head at the worst time. I think that their strengths is definitely HyDra and ASIM. As an SMG duo, I really do think that these guys are up there with the rest of the league when they are on the same page, when they're performing well. However, for me, that's kind of where their strengths stop, and their weaknesses then become, for me, Mac and DiamondCon. They're way too inconsistent, and DiamondCon you can lean on. He's inexperienced, he's young, give him time, fine. I think for Mac, this game has just been weird for him. One minute he looks like he could be talked about as a top 5 AR, the next minute he looks like he shouldn't belong in the league, and it's just such a weird flick between, and you really do not know who's going to turn up on the day. I think as well, chemistry. I really do think that there's something about this whole year and all the problems that they've tried to get through and all the issues that they've had to overcome that really has soured this side. I think Clay quitting, and don't get me wrong, I do think that if he has taken a break for mental health, then he's completely right to do so, but there's no way that that was never going to negatively affect the team. And I think that that happening has just soured the milk a little bit, made it so that they're just playing to see out the season. And lastly, momentum, right? This is the worst time at all to be seeing these issues, right? You're at Cod Champs, you're at the business end of the year. This is when you want to be peaking. This is the lowest point this Subliners of team have been at for the entire year. And I really, really do think that this means that they have no chance. They have next to no chance of winning champs. Sure, they could come out, have a good map or two, maybe even a good series, maybe one in losers bracket, I don't know, but I just do not see them at all taking on the top end teams. Anyway, let me know what you think. Do you agree or disagree with my bottom 4 summary? Who are you seeing as your underlying dark horse? Do put it in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one.